Hi everybody. This is I'm Saurabh Srivastava from Nuage Networks. So hi, I'm Saurabh Srivastava from Nuage Networks. So we'll talk about a C-like language for Open vSwitch. Now we already implement Open vSwitch using C, so this is not that. This is programming OVS using a C-like language. So if you look on the right at this diagram, usually the packet processing pipeline looks like this. It has several stages. Each stage is a table of rules, and each rule has a match portion and a actions portion. The match portion I depict using black and the action using white. And we also have these white arrows, which is the flow of control. So here I have my own terminology. What I say is code. Code is anything which updates a packet and influences the flow of control in the pipeline. The rest is data. So it's the diagram, if you look at it again, usually when we start any product development, the flow pipeline looks very simple. Maybe it's like this, but over a period of time when we keep on adding features, the flow pipeline becomes a lot complicated. For example, this yellow arrow which we added from the table further down called the OD table, it is pointing back to the route table in the beginning. So now the route table implementation becomes very complicated. Now it needs to understand that it can be called from several other tables, and it needs to handle these scenarios. So the real reason for this problem is each table rule has both code and data. So we cannot really reuse tables very easily. So that is one reason. The other reason is that because the rules have both code and data embedded within them, it's not very easy to update the code portion of it. For example, when somebody is upgrading from one minor release to the other minor release and they really want zero downtime, what we can do if the code portion was separated out into some other table, we could just have updated the code but not the data, which I'll show you here. For example, if the pipeline looked like this, where all the code was implemented in one singular table and all the forwarding state was put in some other tables, then it is easy to reuse tables. For example, the route table can be looked up any number of times because it doesn't really update the packet itself, and all the forwarding logic is implemented in the code table. So it's the same diagram again, but now what we have also added is another table called RAM. So it is actually possible to simulate RAM with the tables which we have in OVS. So we'll go over that. So essentially, we have a table which implements code, and we have a table which implements RAM. And RAM is actually yet another table which takes in a 32-bit address and returns the 32-bit contents of that address. So it's a very simple table, and we have other tables. And the code in the code table can actually make function calls into these other tables and do its job. So now that we have simulated RAM, we can in fact download data structures into it and use it like we usually do. So ideally, I would like to be able to write code in such form, which looks very much like C. And so we still have references to the OVS terms like flow fields over here. And the flow fields in this particular programming model are just well-known global variables. And if you write to these global variables, it has a side effect of updating the flow fields. And if you read from them, you are actually reading from the flow fields. And the mental model which the programmer has to have in mind is that the packet enters the main function. It does several lookups, like the context lookup function in yellow over here, and the ECL lookup function over here. And it can also look up RAM data structures using pointers. So now the question is it even possible to do it using OpenFlow and using Open vSwitch, and how do we actually do it? So once the packet enters the main function, and all this code which where we do all the lookups and lookup RAM and lookup other tables, all the writes which happen to global variables, they actually constitute the actions which are to be performed on the packet. So why do we need another programming model? We have P4, we have other models also. So I think the reason is same as why we have several programming languages. We have functional programming languages, we have imperative programming languages. So why do we need another one? It is basically you need to use a tool which matches your use case. So you have to use a programming model which has high fidelity with the problem which you are trying to solve. If you do that, then it is very easy to take real world events and introduce it into your model. For example, the assumptions which we had was that the forwarding code doesn't really change much, but the forwarding state has a lot of churn. So we really need to separate them out. And why do we actually need a higher level language? So the reasons are again the same as why should we use C instead of assembly. So if we code at a higher level of abstraction, we don't need to worry about the nitty-gritty details of register liveness and how to set up function calls. And also that leads to less lines of code. The less lines of code you write, the less things you need to have in your mind while writing up a feature, which results in less number of bugs and higher feature velocity, and also more people can contribute to writing forwarding code. You don't need like specialists. So why do we choose C? Why not say Python for implementing the DSL? Because we have engineers who are already familiar with C, and C is very close to the metal in the sense each C statement translates to few deterministic number of instructions, and we have good optimizing compilers which can optimize the use of registers. We have static analysis tools available which can actually tell you the worst case code path and the worst case register usage. And because we don't have loops as such, you can actually figure out the worst case code path. Now we described why we need a higher level language. Now the question is, can you actually use Open vSwitch as a processor on which we can simulate this higher level language? The answer is seems so, because we have registers in Open vSwitch which can be used to store intermediate state while executing code. We have the concept of stack which can be used to perform function calls, and we have instructions like go to table and resubmit which allow you to jump to different parts of code. And we also have atomic transactions for grouping updates. So you can actually use that to atomically update the simulated RAM and the code table, which can in fact give you zero downtime. So let us look at this, where this is the code on the left is how you would write it, and the code on the right is how it will translate to. So our code table is table 0 where we do that. So we are just looking at table 0 at this time. So if you look at the yellow statement on the left, which is context lookup, it translates to two rules on the right. Reg 0 equal to 130, reg 0 equal to 141. The first rule is the rule to set up the function call, and the second rule is to actually process the return values. Similarly, the if condition translates to two rules, reg 0 equal to 150, the ones which say reg 0 equal to 150, the orange rules. So the table 0 match criteria, as you see, is just reg 0, which we treat as a program counter. And when the packet comes in when it starts, it actually starts with the green rule at the top, which says 000, which has the least priority and it has no reg 0 match criteria. And the only thing it does is it jumps to the start of the main function, and from that point onwards the code execution starts. So we'll go over how the function calls are set up and how the conditional jump is executed. So now how do we actually call a function? So it is very much like how we do it in a regular programming language. You save all the registers on stack, and then you push the return address on stack. In this case, the return address is 141, the statement right after context lookup. So that's the yellow thing. We push the return address onto the stack, then we load the arguments of the function which is getting called from reg1 onwards. So this function has two arguments, one which is of 32 bit in size, the other one is 48 bits in size. So that's why the second argument is split into two registers, 1, 2 and 2 and 3. And then we jump to table 210, which actually implements the context lookup function. Now how do we process the return value of the function? So this function actually returns a big structure, not that big. So it returns like 2 pointers. Now, so when the call returns, we actually, the return value is on the top of the stack. We pop those out, that's the thing in yellow. And then we restore all our saved registers from before, and then we jump to the next statement, which is 150. Now how do we actually implement the function? So if we go back, we see that the function parameters are reg1, 2 and 3. So the function is implemented in say table 210, where it takes in parameters reg1, reg2 and reg3. And so that is you match on the arguments of the function, then you pop the return address from the stack, which is in orange, and then you load the return values onto the stack, which is in green, and then jump back to the caller. So this is how you achieve a function call. So here functions are actually lookup tables effectively. Now how do we implement RAM? So RAM is a simpler table. You have match criteria as the address, and the result is the contents of that address in orange. And if we don't find anything, we just cause an exit, which is like an exception. So now we can, as I already said before, the controller can actually download complex data structures into the memory, and we can in fact use bundle transactions to update multiple addresses in memory atomically, which means the controller can be updating memory while the packet processing is still going on, and we don't really need any explicit synchronization. And so this is also known as software transactional memory, which OVS already has now, but processors are still getting there. Like Intel, I think it can probably just do a few locations, not like this. But anyway, so also this table is very lightweight in the sense it doesn't have all the registers saving and popping, which we had for function calls. Now how do we simulate pointers? So if we assume that each structure starts at a 1K boundary and is at most 1K in size, what that means is the last 10 bits of the structure address are all zeros. So now to achieve something like what we want in the left, if we want to get an address of a structure member, you can put in the offset of the member into the last 10 bits of the structure address, and you will get the address of the member. So we have this simple assumption so that we don't need to do any complex pointer arithmetic, which will need like far more tables. So the statement in yellow actually encodes what is, as you can see, it is putting in the offset of tenant ID, which is 4, into the last 10 bits of the structure address, and then it looks up RAM, and then it finds out the contents of that particular location. Now how do we implement conditional jumps, which is if? So that can be implemented using two rules again with different priorities. The higher priority is for rule which matches on the condition being 0, false or null, and the lower priority one matches on the condition on the truth condition basically. And these two rules jump to two different locations. The first one, the first one, which is the high priority rule, jumps on to the false clause, and the next one to the truth clause. Yeah, so I'm already at the end of my talk. So this is how, and so what are the next steps? So we just have a prototype, but we don't have anything to show at this time. But the idea is to make Open vSwitch look like a LLVM backend, so that we can actually use a C compiler to compile the code which we just saw. And obviously, the abstraction which we have cannot capture all the functionality which OVS provides. So we need to also investigate if we can use ASM statements the same way we use in C to embed arbitrary OVS instruction in the code. And one other interesting thing is we can actually model service insertion as a context switch, where you save at any point in the forwarding logic, you basically save all your state somewhere and then send the packet out, the packet comes back in, you restore the state and continue processing from that point onwards. It is as if nothing happened. It is as if you are making an RPC call. So that is all I have. Thank you.
Wow, that's really cool. I've told people many times that OVS's flow tables and actions are Turing complete, but I haven't seen anyone actually demonstrate it quite so well before. So you're planning to build a compiler backend to target it?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
So let's see.
All right, let's take some questions.
I want to echo what Ben said. We always used to joke that OpenFlow is, or say that OpenFlow is assembly language, and congratulations for actually trying to put that into practice and plug it into LLVM. My question for you is sort of, as for use cases, in which cases would you want to compile C down to OVS versus obviously versus the sort of alternatives we've seen of like, well, just put in rules that send things out a CPU port and then route back into the switch. Either in user space you can do this with zero. You could potentially do this with some zero copying thing that didn't necessarily require you to cross address space boundaries, and probably you could do it quickly. So I guess sort of what's the use case for doing this versus kind of more traditional NFV where you send stuff out one port into a process and then back in another port.
So maybe I wasn't clear, but this is just so that, so eventually it will end up looking like OpenFlow rules over here. So this is just so that, because if the main problem is if the forwarding pipelines becomes very complicated, you have several tables to look up, it just becomes a very big task for engineers to actually manage all the state. So you need some kind of higher level abstraction.
So I guess maybe I should, okay, so the answer is it's a high level abstraction, and I guess the question is, when's the right time to do this versus to use like an OpenFlow controller and the abstractions that it provides?
Oh, okay. So in fact, the OpenFlow controller, so the thing is, you use this language, generate an OpenFlow blob, and that is what the controller pushes down to the vSwitch. And so what does the, and so, maybe I'm not getting your question.
I think maybe you are. I think you're starting. It's sort of a C kind of alternative to P4, which maybe is.
Yeah, it is definitely, yeah. So it is definitely an alternative to P4, but the point is, you need to use something. You need to use an abstraction which matches your use cases. And so, for example, you have Scala, you have C, you have like all these different languages. So it doesn't mean you just will have. Yeah, you can have several languages basically.
Hey, Shabazz from Princeton.
Hi.
So I have this question. So you talked about changes in the code releases. Like for example, whenever a new code came in, you have to do some modification in the control path, right? So have you thought about how do you add support for new protocols? Because I think that's the key change that happens over every OVS release. So using this model, like, have you think about like how to add support for new protocols and header fields?
No. So this is, so no. So I don't think this even addresses that. This is just so that, so the main aim is to make coding of the flow pipeline easier, but I don't think it addresses, and the thing which I talked about when we go from one minor release to the other minor release, where there are not many changes happening. So OVS remains same, but your forwarding logic might have some bugs, for example. Now, if you want to download new code for the new minor release, you don't want to update all the tables. You just update the code table, and that should be sufficient. Did that answer your question? Or no?
I think so. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Hi.
I had a question. I like your little code snippets. They look pretty interesting. With P4, someone has taken a whole pipeline that's super interesting, complicated, and then put it in code. Do you plan to open source this, or can you download that type of example and run it?
So not yet. So I think once we have the LLVM backend in place, then maybe all the same use cases which P4 addresses, we'll see how we can map them to this abstraction and see how it looks like.
Okay, yeah, because I'd like to see how the context lookups work and are fitting together. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hi. Usually, the current existing language which were built on top of Flow were like frenetic and parrotic. They were much higher level, but much simpler in the things they were doing. And so, I'm wondering how you contrast that, because it would seem intuitively that you want to go as high level as you can, but you purposely choose to stay fairly low level at C.
Yeah. So that is the idea. We want to remain very close to what OVS can provide, so that we don't also want to blow up the number of lookups which happen, for example. So we want to remain very close to the metal, as we say, but we still don't want to write in pure OpenFlow OVS instructions. So we think this is a better model which suits our use case, because our pipelines are way complicated, and writing in such a language, it's easier for us.
All right, we have time for another question if anybody else would like to ask one. Doesn't look like it. Let's thank our speaker one more time.
Thank you.